RealAgriculture.com's coverage of Canada's Farm Progress Show in Regina, Saskatchewan is brought to you by Morris. We hear you. Okay, Mo, we're at Farm Progress Show 2012 in Regina. You spoke to the crowd today about $600 canola. Is that really possible?
Well, we're not that far away. We're, 584, 585-ish. The last high was just about a month or so ago. We're in that 592-ish range, so it's not that far along. It wouldn't take much to get to 600. Demand remains strong. Ending stocks are going to be flat compared to last year, which historically are very tight despite record acres. Looks like the crop out here looking pretty decent. Probably a little cooler and a little wetter than you'd like it to be, but overall not looking too bad. Hopefully some heat comes in from the heat stress that Ontario is getting in the last 3 days, about 100 degrees. So, but other than that, yeah, it's still possible because soybeans are looking pretty strong, and potentially there we got a tight crop for 12 in the 140 million bushels mark. We got strong export demand. I'm hearing a couple things. One is that Brazil has run out of exportable soybeans, number one. So China is going to have to either buy from Argentina or from the US. Two, I'm hearing from some analysts like World Oil, which is a German-based analyst, suggesting that soybean exports could jump 40% between September and March of next year. That's huge. The USDA is not factoring that into the balance sheet just yet, but that would be a big, big plus for soybeans, and of course, canola would just follow along for the ride. And the only thing I would caution is that next year, the combined crop from both Brazil and Argentina are going to be 140 million metric tons. That's 35 to 40 million metric tons more than this past year, due to a drought, which nobody really predicted. That's 1.2 billion more bushels. Unless China is going to import 1.2 billion more bushels from the USDA or some other country, that's a big crop, and that's going to put pressure on prices eventually. The other positive is that the United States is having a major heat stress right now. It's been on and off. They had a record month of March in terms of temperatures. The month of April cooled down a little bit. Another record in May. Another hot June. They've had 13 days above 90 degrees this early. Is very unusual. And so that's stressing the crop. Some analysts now think the soybean yield could be as low as 41.5. The USDA currently is projecting 43.9. The record's 44. There's no room for error. You drop 1 or 2 bushels here, and beans could easily, we're running out of time with old crop because the July contract's almost over, but new crop could potentially break 14 and maybe go to our target high of 15. And of course, canola is going to break 600. If it breaks 600, it's going to 620, and then maybe as high as 640. I don't think the macro environment's strong enough to get us to the 08 highs when we got to 700, 750. Overnight, we had an FOMC, Federal Open Market Committee in the U.S., where Federal Chairman Bernanke stated that the U.S. economy is going to slow down below 2%, that inflation could be a problem. Markets didn't want to hear that. Markets had priced in that perhaps he was going to spend some more money, as much as $600 billion, to stimulate that U.S. economy that's been lacking growth and jobs, and he disappointed. They didn't get it, and so the market sold off 251 points today. So that's that macro environment that just, we thought we were coming back. The worries over Europe were kind of fading, and then all of a sudden we're back to worrying about global growth again. And because of that, you had 2 or 3 days up, 1 day down. Ultimately, it's up to weather that's going to determine the final price here in the next 2 weeks. Remember that corn's going to pollinate in the southern part of the United States starting this weekend. The first week up to the first week of July, 75% of the corn in the United States is going to pollinate. If we don't get the rains, and the rains have been disappointing, they're just not widespread enough. If they disappoint, I think we got a bull market in grains. I think the USDA is going to have to lower yields in the July WASDE report. The only report you got to get past is the June acreage report. And typically the USDA, 8 out of 10 years, will increase corn acres. 8 out of 10 years will drop soybean acres. So that's your kind of risk. But I think the markets will anticipate any drops in yields in the July crop production report from the USDA So place your hanging orders in. 600 canola is a great number. You know you can make money there. It may, this market's allowing you to postpone your marketing plan, perhaps to get a little bit more comfortable with your crop that's coming out of the ground. And if you get to 600, 620, put those hanging orders in, you know you're going to make money. And don't forget, if you're doing 12, don't forget to do some in 13, because if I'm right about 140 million metric tons coming from South America, that's very negative on beans and eventually canola.